So Tammy, just explain where we are.
We're at Bourne North Fen in the Fens, where I'm from. We're on the confluence of the River Bourne, dropping into the River Glen. Across the River Glen we have Willow Tree Fen. Upstream from here we have Baston Fen.
Exciting times. We've just seen a couple of cranes go over. This is a really great area, isn't it?
It certainly is. We're bringing nature back. But on Bourne North Fen, what we're trying to achieve is not just for nature, it's for people. So we want to deliver multiple benefits on this site: flood risk management, carbon capture and sequestration, water quality polishing, you name it. We'll be able to support the farming community by doing this, support the local community by taking in water in spate events. This will be a site that could see the recreation of wetlands across the fen on a large scale, because economically it will prove to be a winner.
And this is an area you've been involved with for quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah, so we bought this farm, first approached the farmer about this land in 2017, the lovely Richardson family. We finally secured the funds from the wonderful Biffa Award, which then the third party contributor was the excellent Anglian Water, and of course our own membership helped match fund, and that secured this site back in 2021 or 22. I'm getting old, Melvyn, I can't remember.
But you do need to work with other people to make a project like this work, don't you?
We certainly do. So we're working with Black Sluice Internal Drainage Board. It'll help us do all the capital works. We're working with the Environment Agency because of flood risk, Anglian Water because of public water supply and water quality. They're just three of the big hitters. Obviously, we're working with Natural England's peat team because they have given us Nature for Climate peatland restoration grant money. So that'll pay for all the capital works now on site.
Yeah, it is important. Let's bring in Mark Tarttelin here because you're project managing all of this. What I'm amazed with, you were just showing an example here as to how much land we've actually lost over the years. It's quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, we've lost 14 feet on this site.
14 feet?
14 feet. Historically, Pode Hole was delivered not too far from here, and Wheeler in his drainage of the North Lincolnshire Fens talked about, the 14 feet of peat, and we're in this deep peat area, close to Deeping Fen as well. So that land has settled from drainage down to where we are now. So that puts us close to sea level now. So when you get a high tide, you could be 4, even 5 metres below a spring high tide in this area. So drainage takes some doing, and all the water from this area going to the north is pump drained, and it costs money in terms of doing that.
But we're talking generally about the fens, about draining the fens, but in this example, we're wanting to keep some water, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. And what we're doing here is we're going to harvest the water that comes this way, and it's kind of like a crop. First and foremost for the Wildlife Trust, we're going to create a wetland, and that will give those benefits for crane and other birds, certainly for the plants and invertebrates that we've lost. We've probably lost 100 species in Lincolnshire since the original drainage, and we lost 99.9% of the fen. So it's a real challenge to get it back to a sustainable position. But working in collaboration with all these different interests means that we can develop this area and get that wildlife benefit, but we get other benefits. The soil alone on this site over the last 12 months or so, we've lost nearly 15,000 cubic metres of soil through oxidisation. That's equivalent to about 5,000 tonnes of carbon, or close to 100 people's footprint. And we've done nothing on this site over this last year, so it just shows you the change in the landscape. And so we're understanding that change and then utilising it or developing it to work for us, rather than against us.
So we see a benefit to wildlife in the future, also benefit to the farming community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I mentioned earlier this was one time Europe's largest wetland, and in Lincolnshire alone that was 100,000 square kilometres of peat fen, and with over 1 billion cubic metres of peat and water. Now that's a vast amount of water, and I think I mentioned earlier again that all the projects for public water supply at the moment are going to be in the region of 100 million cubic metres. So it gives you a perspective to what resource we had and lost. So it's not about reflooding the fens, but it's about capturing that process to benefit all parties. So this could lead to additional irrigation for potatoes, other crops locally. It could lead to more water for public water supply, or it can go back in the environment in a controlled way, so it's not flooding, but it's improving that flow for all the local rivers and drains.
This would look very different, wouldn't it, in a few years' time?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be about 40 hectares of reed bed and wet grassland area, but we'll be utilising that habitat in a number of ways. We'll still have grazing on site, but we might harvest the reed, and we might be using the reed to polish high nutrient-rich waters from, say, the Bourne, for instance, that has high levels of phosphates and nitrates, and we can capture that in the reed, and then that could be harvested and put into biomass. So effectively we're recycling those nutrients that have run off the land or run through people, and we're putting that back into the ground in the right place.
Exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think nationally this is a first on this kind of scale. So we're still learning. We've got a good idea of where we're going, but there's still a lot to find out. And so monitoring, recording will be a critical part of the project. And so we can provide advice and learn from what we're doing.